What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
Ultraviolet air disinfectors can be found everywhere, in stores, offices, apartments, public transportation. Speaking of cars, private, not public. You can often hear a common misconception, saying that the car in this regard is in itself a protection from infections from the outside and does not need additional measures of sterilization inside. Alas, this is not the case. Yes, the danger of bacteria and viruses entering the passenger compartment from the street through the ventilation system or open windows, although formerly existing, is in fact negligible. The concentration of microorganisms in the outdoor air tends to be negligible. However, all daily trips behind the wheel, as a rule, are associated with visiting various public places, from which we leave with bacteria and viruses on clothes and things, which then twist and turn in the air currents inside the closed salon of the car as in a mixer, getting into the nasopharynx and lungs. It is clear that we are primarily talking about varieties of influenza and coronavirus, which, unlike many other pathogens, the body of a healthy person and his immune system resist much weaker. Actually, compact ultraviolet air purifiers designed for passenger cars have been on sale for quite a long time, long before the story with the crown. Such devices are easy to buy on AliExpress. Some of them are installed on the dashboard, some are simply inserted directly into the cigarette lighter. The epidemic and hype have made adjustments to the pricing policy of the manufacturers of these devices. Prices, alas, have increased. But technically nothing has fundamentally changed in them in recent years. It would seem that what is the problem? Buy and use them. However, there is a nuance. The disinfectors, working on ultraviolet diodes of low power, and these are the ones made for cars, are characterized by the fact that the owner is extremely difficult not only to assess their effectiveness, but also in general to be sure of the performance. The device seems to work, but how? The glow of the indicator, the glow inside the case and even the rotation of the fan does not guarantee that there is a real fight with bacteria and viruses inside the Chinese handicraft, and their death cannot be seen with the naked eye. Especially since we all know how sometimes the real stuffing of cheap nameless Chinese electronics corresponds to the declared. Many have encountered flash drives for 32-64-128 and even more gigabytes, inside which is 2 to 4 gigabytes, with capacitors of supposedly high capacity, where a large case hides a small one, and with quite outrageous empties such as the infamous Fuel Shark fuel economizer. It's the same story with sanitizers. The average user will never know what kind of LEDs are inside, really ultraviolet or just ordinary blue, burning half-light. And, even if they are really ultraviolet, whether in the right part of the UV spectrum emit. For the UV spectrum is wide and not all of it is destructive to microorganisms. How to distinguish a good ultraviolet disinfector from a bad one? Frankly speaking, in domestic conditions, no way. Check cheap nameless gadget on the spectrometer, no one will not. It is obvious. And one more parameter is important, which is even less realistic to determine with little blood, the ratio of the power of the emitter to the volume of air passing through it. In other words, for disinfection, air must be exposed to ultraviolet irradiation for a certain period of time. Accordingly, the capacity of the blowing fan should depend in known proportionality on the power of the UV light inside the housing of the device. It is impossible to blow air out of the blue, and even more powerful, because in this case the device simply becomes meaningless. Even if the UV emitter in it, the right. So let's get back to the pressing question. What to do if you need to buy an ultraviolet disinfector for the car? We realize how advertising and for some unconvincing will sound such a phrase, but, however it may be, there is only one way out. To choose a device from a well-known brand. Although indirect, but in fact the only real way to gain confidence that the device really kills germs and viruses, and not just beautiful and mysterious glowing in the semi-darkness of the cabin and stirring the air. A typical example of a gadget from the manufacturer. Of the first magnitude, car disinfector from Osram from the line of Airzen. Actually, the name of the brand here, the main guarantee of efficiency and quality of such devices, because the German brand Osram is known to every car owner. It is a kind of Mercedes in the world of lamps for automotive optics and LED technology. The company has existed since 1906, and it's not too euphonious for the Russian ear name is a curious abbreviation of the names of two metals, osmium and tungsten, of which it made filament lamps back in the early 20th century. UV disinfection has always been one of the main areas of focus for Osram's wide range of lighting interests, and with the outbreak of the epidemic it has been radically intensified. In the Airzing range, we were interested in the compact leaders 101 model designed for the automobile. The device belongs to the class of recirculators, representing a compact aluminum housing with a diameter of 80 mm and height of 50 mm. The device is powered by USB and pumps air through itself, disinfecting it with a panel of ultraviolet diodes in tandem with a photocatalytic plate. The UV light power and fan output are, of course, optimized to cover an area of up to 10 square meters. The bottom of the unit provides a slit gap for air intake, which exits through the top. It's easily removable. Underneath you can see the LED panel and air pumping fan. There is also a removable metal mesh filter, which can be cleaned with soap and water when dirty, according to the instructions. The mesh, by the way, is not simple, but very important. It is not a mechanical filter in the direct sense, but a catalytic panel. The fact that the device uses LEDs that emit in the so-called UVA part of the ultraviolet spectrum, which itself does not kill germs and viruses, but does it in tandem with the grid, the entire surface of which is covered with titanium dioxide, TiO2. Titanium dioxide, irradiated by ultraviolet A-band, 350 to 400 nanometers, causes the emission of charged particles that generate strong oxidizing agents from oxygen and water vapors of air, which kill microorganisms and decompose microorganisms that carry allergens and unpleasant odors. The effect of TiO2 working under UV light is well studied and is called photocatalysis. Sterilizers based on this principle are installed, for example, in the most advanced models of air conditioners of leading manufacturers. It is important to understand that the device has nothing to do with ozonization, generation of ozone by high-voltage discharge. Uncontrolled operation of ozone generators is dangerous, and Osram Airzing can work indefinitely, including in close proximity to a person. The device is powered via the USB Type-C connector, a modern symmetrical connector that can be socketed in any position. The cable is included in the package. There are no buttons on the case. Osram Airzing turns on when power is applied. The diode panel activates. The fan, quiet, barely audible, less than 30 dB, and the Osram inscription lights up on the top of the case as an indicator. We measured. The device consumes 600 milliamperes on the 5-volt USB circuit. This is the joint current consumption of the UV diode panel and the fan. What does that mean? First of all, it can be powered by any USB source, including the cheapest and lowest powered ones, the ones that are built as auxiliary power plugs in radar detectors and video recorders, and even in many stereos. This is very convenient. Some car adapters are unsuitable for charging smartphones with powerful batteries, but the ultraviolet disinfector can be powered from the weakest adapter, both in and out of the car. Secondly, the device can be left on for a short period of time in a locked and abandoned car, if the electrical system allows it. The voltage on the cigarette lighter or the stereo is not lost after removing the ignition key or there is a socket bypassing the key. However, this is acceptable only if you leave the cabin for a short time, not more than a couple of hours of a trip to the supermarket or movie theater. Otherwise, there is a risk of battery discharge, especially in winter. There are two methods of installing the device in the car. You can place it vertically on the torpedo, on the flat surface of the floor tunnel in front or between the passengers of the rear. So far, however, the standard neoprene coating of the bottom is still not enough to hold on the turns. It is better to put the device on a silicone non-slip mat. Or you can fix it horizontally on the grill of the ventilation system deflector with the help of the included magnetic holder. When you get home or to work, Osram Airzing can be taken with you and turned on at the desk or in the room for additional disinfection, as well as in the kitchen or bathroom to eliminate unpleasant odors. Reference: back in 1801, German physicist and chemist Johann Ritter, studying the properties of light, discovered an invisible component. In it, ultraviolet radiation. At that time, this knowledge did not have an applied aspect, but in 1877, British physiologists Thomas Blunt and Arthur Downes revealed the disinfectant properties of ultraviolet radiation, capable of killing and suppressing the development of pathogenic microorganisms. And already in 1903, the Danish scientist, Physician Niels Finzen received the Nobel Prize for the development of practical methods of using ultraviolet light in medicine. In conclusion, understanding the risks of coronavirus transmission in enclosed spaces like cars is crucial for our health and safety. An ultraviolet generator can play a significant role in disinfecting your vehicle, effectively reducing the presence of harmful pathogens. By incorporating this technology into your routine, you can create a safer environment for yourself and your passengers. Remember, taking proactive steps to protect yourself is essential in these challenging times. Stay informed, stay safe, and prioritize your well-being. Thank you for watching.